People talk about the best keepers in the league, they automatically go, oh, Alisson, Ederson. And I'm like, Ederson is very good with his feet. Yeah, very good. Distribution's great. He's great on the ball. But as a goalkeeper, he does have a rick in him. And I think as a goalkeeper, I'd rather have someone who's good at shot stopping and keeping the ball out the net than someone who can pass it 20 yards. I don't know. But obviously, that doesn't fit. Like Pep Guardiola's system demands that his goalkeeper is great with his feet, right? And Ederson is. But yeah, I think there's a few moments he gets found out. Yeah, just Tottenham, just super, super efficient. Mourinho is absolutely loving life. If he lifts the Premier League with them, that will be a better achievement than him winning the Champions League with Porto.
I'm going to
say
it. All right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I hope it doesn't happen with every fibre of my being. I hope it doesn't happen. But
Reed last night, we were watching the games, and then, of course, I got very uninterested by the Inter Milan game. So we started talking about other things, football related. And he asked me, where does the Mourinho aura come from? And I was telling him, and man, I understand why he nicknamed himself the special one. Like, he won a European Cup with Porto. The next year, they win the Champions League. He goes to Chelsea. He wins them their first Premier League title in, I don't even know how many years. Then goes to Inter Milan. Damn, we won the Champions League after 45 years with an incredible team. He's won a European Cup again with Manchester United. Right now, I mean, he won again the league at Chelsea, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, when I think about Tottenham, it's like, what could you do at Tottenham? Win him a fucking trophy. And
yeah, he very realistically could. But because I'm about to talk about Arsenal, I don't want to be bigging up Tottenham before I've got to slag off Arsenal. But the other game we talked about was Arsenal-Leeds, which was a fascinating game. It was genuinely quite interesting, like tactically, without sounding like too much of a hipster wanker. It was quite an interesting tactical game. Arsenal, again, endeavoured to just fuck themselves over as Pepe got sent off for a stupid header, and we clung on for the last 20 minutes. I think Leeds hit the bar or the post 5 times. Watching Arsenal is boring. It's just boring now. I can see what Arteta's trying to do. Our defence is actually quite good now, considering the defenders we've got. But we've just got nothing up front. We offer nothing. We were better with 10 men than with 11. It makes zero sense. We had our first shot on target when we were down to 10 men. How does that happen? Anyway, I cut you off from going on about Inter, so I'm going to cut myself off about going on about
No, I was just going to say that if we want more listeners, we should really leverage on the fact that we are an Arsenal and an Inter supporter. That makes for a fun podcast to listen to, right?
Just 2 people moaning for an hour. I don't know how much fun that is.
Yeah, like imagine if we supported, I don't know, like this year, AC Milan and Tottenham. That would be a boring podcast, but no, yeah, it's very exciting.
People. No one wants to be happy. Yeah.
No, I know. But yeah, and what are the big games to look forward to this weekend in the Prem?
The big game this weekend is, I'm pretty excited, we have got Chelsea taking on Tottenham at Stamford Bridge, which is always a spicy affair. There's usually a few fights, a bit of aggro, big London derby, so I'm excited to watch that one. As I said, Frank Lampard is taking Chelsea through to maybe looking like as I said on the first episode, looking like title challengers maybe. So this is going to be an interesting game. Beyond that, the other one that caught my eye was Everton-Leeds. I think I really enjoy watching Leeds play, and Everton got back to winning ways last weekend, so I think that game could be worth keeping an eye on. And I would just advise, don't watch Arsenal. It's boring. Which games do we have in Serie A?
I'm sobbing. So the first game that we have this weekend at 3 p.m. Central European Time is Sassuolo taking on the mighty Milan Nerazzurri. Woot. Yeah, man. Wow. I never thought that I would look at Sassuolo Inter and be like, fuck. But yeah. And also, historically, Sassuolo have made life hard for Inter. I remember in 2018, we were trying to qualify finally for the Champions League under Spalletti. We had to play Sassuolo at the San Siro, and Politano, who was at the time at Sassuolo, scored an incredible curler. And we had to postpone everything to the last game against the Lazio, which in the end...
I remember that one, De Vrij, right?
Yeah, which in the end we won. But yeah, besides Sassuolo Inter, which I'm not sure if you guys want to watch, on the same night we've got Atalanta Verona, So very interesting. Once again, keep an eye on Verona. They're looking good. And then the big game on Sunday at 8:45 Central European Time, Napoli take on Roma. And since I think that it's going to be a dogfight until the end, these are two of the dogs that could try and claim the title.
I just need to quickly say, guys, I've not been able to watch the game, but Arsenal are now 2-0 up from Pepe and Nelson. So get in. I take back all the negative comments I've just said.
And I think we're ready for our quiz.
Quiz time. And welcome to Timeline Up, listeners. Come on down, Tommaso Adami. Are you ready?
I was born ready,
Born ready. I can see it on his face. Right. Listeners who didn't listen last week, or who were maybe confused by the instructions last week, I'm going to explain it again. So,
what I repeated them
Tommaso
twice.
Has to do is I'm going to give you 4 events, and you need to put them in time order, earliest to recentest. I think that's the word. And then I'm going to ask you for the lineup of the team from one of the games that's in one of these events, right? I think that was clear. If you play along, you'll pick it up as you go along. So, Tommy, do you have a pen and paper? Pen and paper?
I have a huge brain, man. Don't worry about that.
Okay. So, first, we have the first event. The Europa League was started.
Okay.
The next one. Mourinho takes his first management job. Ansu Fati is born. And Arsenal demolish Inter Milan 5-1 at the San Siro.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. So first thing that I think of is that we are focusing on the early 2000s era. I feel like the latest date would be... So I think the oldest date is Mourinho taking on his first managerial job. And the most recent one might be the Europa League starting, like the Europa League format starting. So for our listeners who are not familiar with European competitions, it was called UEFA Cup before, and then they changed the format and it became Europa League. So the 4 events are Europa League started, Mourinho takes on his first managerial job, Ansu Fati is born, Arsenal completely humiliate Inter at the San Siro.
I had to get it in there.
No, that's actually
you
very fun.
You can guess which team you're trying to guess now for the second part, right?
Yeah, no, I will. Yeah. I will try to guess the lineup for the Inter team. All right, but yeah, that's actually good. It's fun. So, can you give me just the two, like the oldest date and the most recent date?
So the oldest is 2000.
Okay.
And the most recent is 2009.
All right, sweet.
There's quite a wide range, but I think we'll see.
I'm excited. I think I can do well. All right,
good.
Sweet.
We will see you at the end to test your Inter knowledge, right?
Yeah, and right now there is a weekly topic special about the one and only Diego Armando Maradona. ...1981, Argentine Primera División champion. 1983, Copa del Rey champion. Same year, Copa de la Liga and Supercopa de España champion. 1986, 1987, Serie A champion with Napoli, something that we repeated in the 1989-1990 season. 1986, 1987, he also won the Coppa Italia with Napoli before lifting the UEFA Cup, which was huge in 1988-1989. He also won an Italian Super Cup in 1990, and the biggest accomplishment of his career, a FIFA World Cup with Argentina in 1986. We are, of course, talking about the one and only Diego Armando Maradona.
I am, as I said at the beginning of the show, I was incredibly saddened when the news came through. You were the one who actually told me on WhatsApp. I was like, holy shit, has he died? But a player who, despite going through all of that incredible career and the multiple trophies he won, the first thing that struck me is he's a player who's not defined by statistics. When I looked at his goal scoring record, of course, it's very good. I'm not going to start slagging him off. But he was so much more than 300 goals in however many career games. It was the impact he had on the pitch, off the pitch, on every single person that he met in his life. He had an impact, both good and bad. And I think he had a hell of a life lived. And I'm looking forward to hopefully paying a fitting tribute to the man. Yeah.
Yeah, there was that saying that was, si yo fuera Maradona, vivería como él. If I was Maradona, I would live just the way he does. Yeah, so yes. we will get in also talking about all the controversies about the man and everything, but we will try to start from the roots. There is a very good Netflix documentary that you can watch about Diego Armando Maradona, who was born in one of the poorest neighbors of the Buenos Aires province. And that is the first thing that kind of stands out when you think about this man and his career.
Well, exactly. It's the incredibly humble beginnings that he came from. When you looked at, like, you think of a slum, like nowadays slums, this is like next level, kind of no running water, no electricity, just like bogs all around him and swamps. It was the real poverty that he grew up in. And from a very young age, they knew how talented he was. And in the documentary, it says from around 15, from that point, he was supporting his entire family. Like, they moved into a house with electricity, with windows. Like, from that young age, he transformed his entire family's life. And from such humble beginnings, and Argentina as a country at the time was kind of in a similar state. It was a rough country, very poor. Like, I feel like we're going to talk about how their stories match, but his beginning matches the country he would go on to represent.
Absolutely. So he became a symbol to Boca Juniors, where he scored 28 goals in 40 appearances before making the big move across the pond in 1982 and signing for Barcelona.
Well, before we go to Barcelona, I just want to geek out a bit on Boca Juniors, because it is one of my dreams to go and watch a game in La Bombonera. I think it's one of those teams that the kit just looks so iconic, and he is the icon of that iconic kit. I love that De Rossi played there, weirdly. I just think it's such a great team and such a great badge for him to start his career with. And obviously those numbers at Boca Juniors are incredible. He would go on to represent them again later in his career. And he is the icon of that club. I saw a post on Instagram last night that La Bombonera was completely pitch black and the one light was his director's box that they'd left on. So that is, again, a city and a club that will still be recovering from the news. But as you said, he moved on to Barcelona, where he had quite an interesting time, I think it's fair to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Barcelona, it felt like it never really, the love between Barcelona and Maradona never really picked up. And also we have to think that Barcelona at the time were not the Barcelona that we're used to seeing these days. So they were not the number one powerhouse in Europe. And he definitely, a player making a move from South America, coming to the big stage in La Liga, a lot is expected from him. He still had a pretty good goal scoring record, 38 goals in 58 games at Barcelona, but something never really picked up. And so after only 2 seasons, what was considered the best player in the world makes the move.
Now, what spurred his move to the team that we all associate him with is quite a spectacular Copa del Rey final, where if you've not seen it on YouTube, you should definitely watch it. There's a huge fight at the end in front of the King of Spain, right? In front of Juan Carlos, right? Diego Maradona is running around donkey kicking people, like doing karate kicks, and he is going hard. Like, he did not enjoy his time in Spain. I think once he arrived in Naples, he was quite open about the fact that him and Barcelona never really saw eye to eye. I think Barcelona still are a team that like their players to be very straight-laced. They like them to be kind of following the rules, keep your head down. They don't really like characters. Maradona is the opposite of all of that. So I can see how that wasn't a marriage made in heaven.
There was a very funny bit in the documentary. All the news anchors talking about Maradona, who had signed for Naples. And there is a French reporter saying, the poorest city in Europe, signs the most expensive player in the world. And we will now talk about why Napoli and Maradona are such a fitting match, right?
Well, this is the first, one of the many things that jumped out at me about when I watched the documentary